Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. Happy Saturday for me and some other day for you. This is my first mid-month book bash vlog. I have been watching mid-month book bash vlogs for multiple years from folks who do it religiously, mainly Doris from Aldi Books, who I believe started the event, Heidi from My Reading Life, and Cousin from Always Doing. So they're all staples of this particular event, and this event is taking the weekend of the middle of the month around the 10th to focus in, kind of extend that weekend to 3 or 4 days and push over those 3 or 4 days to really read as much as you can, fitting it in everywhere in your day. And I have been thinking for a long time about how I could incorporate that event into my reading diet, sort of, and how I could include it without necessarily doing that full weekend process. Because especially right now, I have BookTube Prize reading obligations, so I can't spend a whole weekend reading and blogging about it and share it with you because I can't talk about the BookTube Prize books right now. So with that, though, it kind of sparked an idea for me to read a single book in a day and use that as my mid-month book bash. Because the goal of the book bash is to focus and really boost your reading for the month. And I feel like reading a short book in a day that is not related to any obligations is a great way for me to do that. So I'm going to try that. As you can tell, I've got wet hair. I have already done my workout this morning and done my Japanese lesson. So I'm ready to hunker down and read this one book that I want to get to. So these will probably be very short, very book and reading focused vlogs without a lot of extra fluff, a lot of the extra vloggy stuff. So we'll see how that works out and if people like it. But this is a experiment, I would say. So what is the book? The book is The Crane Husband this month. So I want to try and read this. It's just over 100 pages. This is a novella from Kelly Barnhill, who is kind of well known in the children's space, award-winning author known for very gorgeous prose, who has recently kind of moved into adult works, and this is one of those adult works. I think When Women Were Dragons is the other one that's out now. So this one is folkloric, I think speculative fiction. I'm not sure about the speculative elements, but it's based on the Crane Wife folktale, and I'm pretty sure I have either read or heard of that one in some detail, but I don't recall all of the information about that story, so it will be as much discovery for me as you about what the story is. I think this does have a literal crane as the husband of the title, so we will see how this goes. I'm expecting really beautiful prose. I'm ready to get stuck into it. I got all my stuff done, so we're gonna sit down and read for a couple hours, maybe hour or two. I don't know how long this will take, depends on the density of the writing, but yes, I am very much looking forward to this one. Already not a great update. I'm 15 pages in. I'm kind of thinking of DNFing if it doesn't change. Not because it's bad. It's very well written, as I had expected, and I think in part the quality of the characterization is what's getting to me. The story is told from the daughter's perspective in this scenario, who is looking at her mother, who's kind of irresponsible and seems to be a type of person that brings home guys all the time who are not so great for either her or her children, which that is just getting really under my skin right now. So that's why I'm wanting to stop. And I think that is well told, that the daughter's perspective of kind of having to be the responsible one is coming through. So I'm expecting that to be the focus. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going and see where it goes with that. But yeah, it's driving me crazy. The prose is stellar, though. I loved the briny, waterlogged smell of him, the way his fingertips wrinkled as though he had spent the day in water. I loved the wisps of his shed hair on the pillows, the way his fragile skin hung from his body like cotton curtains in a summer breeze. I'm halfway through Crane Husband now. I don't think we ever get the girl's name, but she's a teenage girl and has a younger brother, Michael, who is, I think, 6. And Mom, we never get a name for her either. And then, of course, the Crane. So they're really the cast. It's very sort of insular feeling. They live on a farm and raise sheep, and her mother is an artist and a weaver. I think that ties into the crane wife folklore, where this man had a crane wife who was weaving things that enriched him basically, and he got greedy and wanted more riches as a result of her, and it was never enough, and eventually he lost her as a result of his greed, right? So I don't know where that piece is going, but she is a weaver, and it's in a fairly contemporary setting. So like she takes the sheep's cheese that they make and her artwork and weaving to farmers markets, and that's kind of how they survive. And as we're going along, we're learning that this girl has basically been the responsible one, has been keeping their lives going and holding them together ever since her dad has died. And her mom is just very unreliable. And it feels almost exactly like this could be a very fantastical version of the exact story from Maid, either the series or the book, because the dynamic between the daughter and mother is exactly the same. Down to even like some of the things that happen feel just identical. So I wouldn't be surprised if she watched that and it like went in the back of her mind, tying it into this crane wife folklore. But I am liking it. It feels so understated, and I think that's being very effective to get across that I think this girl has been through so much and has been in kind of a state of panic over having to manage everything, that she can't get any more emotionally heightened. Like there are things that maybe she should get emotional about, and that she is concerned about, as we're seeing. Never on page, she never witnesses anything, but she's aware there's probably signs of abuse happening to her mother. So very indirect, and things are increasingly ominous, definitely. It's more and more impacting her day-to-day life that her mom is getting caught up in her relationship with the crane husband. So I think that's done really, really well and kept very flat for this girl, where she just expects things to be unpredictable in her life. So yes, I am enjoying it much more than I was at the beginning. Still hate mom, but we're gonna keep going.
Having a crane living in the house presents a certain set of problems. First, there is the issue of his gait, which, due to his larger than most cranes' size, meant that I had to predict the exceptionally wide potential swing of his body in order to protect objects on tables and shelves from being knocked off. So I feel like this passage is doing a great job of kind of giving us some imagery surrounding how kids in homes where there's an abuser have to sort of move in a certain way to protect themselves and their surroundings. And I think yeah, the imagery there is really strong.
I have finished The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill. So successful vlog for that. A successful first mid-month book bash. I liked it. I don't know if I loved it, mainly because the prose and the concept were so good, but I don't know if I feel as good about the way the story was actually executed. So I think in terms of the tone, it's very stable, very all at the same level in terms of drama and tension the whole way through. And that kind of made me think of Foster by Claire Keegan, where you're very much in this child's eyes and they are going through something very understated, very melancholic in tone, and I think this has that feel to it. I would also draw a comparison with Lost in the Moment and Found, the latest book in the Wayward Children series by Sean McGuire, where in that story we also have a child perspective character who is going through something in their home where their mother has brought an abusive man into their home, and is very much dealing with the situation of their home becoming less safe and less stable, feeling less settled in the place they're supposed to feel the most safe, and also not knowing who to tell, how to get across what they're going through, So I would draw those connections between this and Lost in the Moment and Found. Very, very similar ideas there. So I loved the prose. It was gorgeous. I read a couple passages throughout, so hopefully you've got a sense for it. But I think that it let me down in that I think I knew everything that was going on, and didn't feel like it developed into something bigger, really. In the world building, there needed to be maybe some more whimsy and surrealness for me. I wanted to really push the bounds. But we do have the surreal and fantastical in that we have a literal crane as this guy that she's brought in, and that creates for some interesting ideas about how he behaves. But we also have some sci-fi elements, and those felt really underdeveloped to me because they're just not really utilized. So the sci-fi elements are like every once in a while they mention that drones are going over the farm regularly, or there are drone plows that go through other farms, that sort of thing. And there are like glasses that record things. So it's tangible. It feels like a contemporary story, but with that just slight near future maybe. But then I don't feel like that was used in the story, so I don't know why it's there. It doesn't feel meaningful. And all of her interactions, our main character's interactions with people outside of her family, very, very limited. There are really few interactions with other people, but all those interactions with people outside feel disjointed from everything else because we spend so much time with just her in her home with her brother and mother, and occasionally the crane showing up and causing trouble, right? So I don't know. I felt like those threw me out of things a little bit. So this wasn't a new favorite, but I'm very glad to have read it. I'm glad I didn't DNF it because I liked the experience of reading it. I liked the ideas throughout this. It was really unique. I don't think I've read anything quite exactly like this in terms of the way that it's taking on this sort of folklore. So, liked it. Glad to have participated for my mid-month book bash. So now I get to go and return this. It's going to be very satisfying to drop it in the return slot at the library, all after a day of reading. So let me know down below if you feel like this actually worked as a concept and you want to see this going on for future mid-month book bashes. It was worth a try. Or if it didn't work, let me know as well, and what you think should be changed, or if I should scrap it altogether. So that is it for me, I think. Thank you so much for sticking in there with me with this experiment, and thanks so much for watching.